Greetings! In the name of Jah, Rastafari. Happy Good Friday. Strange name for the day that they crucified Christ. But we have a lot to be happy about. And it's now obvious to the entire planet that our world is in a state of change. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm with the transition team, and I'm bringing you some good news. We are transitioning. Well, Jennifer Mack just launched a new short film about 107. God bless 107. In this, he explains the firmament. He lays it bare, and it's quite profound. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So I couldn't put that on YouTube, and you'll have trouble finding it. What I did do was I uploaded it on X at Silicon Palms. You can find it there. It's about 14 minutes and 41 seconds long. About. Exactly. So Juan has shared a lot of details surrounding the events of the crucifixion of Jesus, including how the legend preceded him into Jerusalem. Before he rode in there on the donkey, there was this buzz, and it was all word of mouth, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody knew that he'd raised Lazarus from the dead. So it really preceded him, this legend of what he had done. And that wasn't the only thing. I mean, by the time he rode into Jerusalem, he was famous. Everyone knew who he was. And I have here as a side note that in the Leonardo da Vinci painting, which is actually a fresco because it's painted on a wall, there is a table with the disciples at the table. It's pretty famous. I'm sure all of us have seen it. But did anybody realize that that table is the exact same dimensions as the supposed sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid? Probably not. This is all kind of new stuff this year, new to me, and it was pretty much only discovered within the last year that there was an etching on the wall. It's the north wall of the king's chamber. And it was so obscured from all the years of grime and dust that no one had noticed until perhaps about a year ago. And that etching is also on the wall behind the disciples having the Last Supper with Jesus. Impossible. I mean, that's just so incredible. And then we come to learn that Leonardo da Vinci was obsessed with the Great Pyramid, and that all of his paintings and sketches had mathematics that you can find in the pyramid. So he was onto it. And another person was Nikola Tesla. He was obsessed with the Great Pyramid. And he probably did, in fact, crack the code when he did his experiment from Colorado Springs. As there was a team in Alaska that were awaiting, and they were on the receiver end of the, he had a pyramid set up in Colorado Springs and another one in Alaska, and he was going to shoot a big beam of electricity. Nothing happened, except a giant crater in Siberia that the locals reported on, and no one could understand what had happened. A massive hole in the ground that was an experiment gone wrong. And had that gone right, we would have had free electricity. Our world would have been a lot different than it is today. So, the Ark of the Covenant, and this is something I've been fascinated with. Now I'm in my, I guess, 4th year of reporting on the Ark of the Covenant. And by the way, it's supposed to be one of them in Mar-a-Lago. And I know that Laura Loomer was there and she took a picture of it. And James O'Keefe was at that same event, and they noted that it was a replica. And underneath, George News popped up and said, that's not a replica. Besides, if you really understand what the Ark of the Covenant is, a replica can replace the real one. It's what was in the Ark of the Covenant that has been lost. And, having given this a lot of time and thought and study, I came to the conclusion that there wouldn't be just one. I surmised that there would be at least three. I mean, we have the exact dimensions, how to construct it precisely. The only thing we don't fully understand is how the monatomic gold, or they called mana, worked. But nonetheless, that is the exact same size as what they call the sarcophagus in the Great King's in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. So that's way too much of a coincidence that the Ark of the Covenant would be the same size. And also pretty amazing that it would be in Trump's residence. I mean, right there it should go to show you that he is a man of God. He has no evil intent in his mind, despite the fact that there's a lot of people in doubt and turning against him. Matter of fact, the entire Patriot community is starting to turn on itself. People are getting shot with friendly fire all over the place, so to speak. And now we have this huge Baltimore issue. And I'm quite certain a lot of people don't know the importance of Francis Scott Key. You might know he's the one that wrote the song for Star Spangled Banner. Well, the song derived from his observations of the night. And this is a little off topic, but Francis Scott Key was taken out on a British ship. He was a witness to the siege of Baltimore and the Battle of Baltimore. And had the British won that war, hey, none of this would have happened. It would have been a different world that we live in. But Baltimore hung. It hung in there, and it defeated the British onslaught. And that's what the song's about. And by the way, also, they made the flag enormous, as big as they possibly could. Back then, there were only 13 colonies. But they made it massive so that it could be seen from way out to sea. Of course, it was still standing, that flag, in the morning. The other interesting thing about this gentleman is he went on to become the fourth district attorney for the District of Columbia. He was an attorney his whole life. He owned slaves when he was born. And actually, he still had possession of slaves when he died. He was 63 when he passed. But in his career, he turned against slavery, and he switched sides, and he represented actually in some cases the slaves themselves to own property and things. So as an attorney, he helped slaves that had been freed, and he represented the largest slave owner of the time was Roanoke, had 400 slaves, and they were all set free. And Francis Scott Key was the executor to Roanoke's estate to free these 400 people. So there's a lot to this story of the man whose name is on that bridge. But I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'll choose another one. And that is, you know, this pyramid. There's pyramids all over China that we don't know anything about, and no one's allowed to go near them to study them. And there's definitely pyramids in Antarctica, possibly even hundreds of them. We don't even know. I mean, Juan's the one that's really tipped us to there's a lot more to Antarctica. But there have been a couple of whistleblowers that have been excellent. And you know, all of the information is there. This could be said of the whole predicament we're in at this time in our evolution, is that all of the facts are already there for anyone to go and get on any particular topic. It really doesn't matter. But what's being revealed to us is how these things connect together. And then things are being revealed to us that we had no idea about. And that's what Juan tells us with Antarctica, is that we're probably looking at a breakaway society that have lived without any war or hostility all of this time while we've been struggling on our side of the planet, and they've been excelling with technology that we get little bits and pieces of, but they're way, way, way ahead of us. So we're told about energy systems that are under the ice in Antarctica, and that there's the world's largest radar array under the ice, and this can serve as a weapon, a harp, and as a matter of fact, that's what some of the accusations are. So when I say the best is yet to come, and believe it, it's really true, because we're talking about suppressed patents, suppressed technology for quantum health, for travel, for free energy, zero-point energy, and a list goes on and on. And we won't need to develop these things because they're in use in this breakaway society that already have it. And they're plaguing us while they're enriching themselves. So all of this is coming out. Just be patient. 107, he has incredible prayers himself, and this is the main point of today's video that I wanted to touch upon, is how to pray. And because he mentions it a lot, but prayer is one of the most powerful things that any one of us can be involved in. Today, as Good Friday, I'm making this right at 3 o'clock so that that's the moment of the most mercy, when Jesus took his last breath on that day, is at 3 o'clock. So around the world, people pray whatever 3 o'clock is for them. It's symbolic, you know, and our calendar's been destroyed, our dates. We don't even know to what degree we've been lied to. I mean, it's 1 times 1 doesn't equal 0, and it doesn't equal 1. It equals 2. So the basis of everything is built on deception, and it's really unfortunate. So it's all the more reason why prayer is so powerful. And there is only one prayer that we need to know. Despite the fact that Juan says incredible prayers in Gideon's Army, Gideon's-army.com by Jerry Foley is such a great resource, and it's such a wonderful community. And Juan is one of the founders of that. So at the end of every broadcast where Juan is a participant, he likes to say a prayer. And he speaks right to God on our behalf so that we will see what's meant to be done for each and every one of us that are listening. And other people do their own prayers too, and that's fine. I'm not discounting that. But what I'm saying is that when Christ sat with his disciples, they asked him, how should we pray? And he told them specifically. And he said, and there's no need to repeat it over and over again. This isn't a Hail Mary or anything like that. And you don't do it so other people can see you. You need to quieten your mind, and you need to focus on every single word and be completely sincere. And do it again if you don't get it right the first time, because you've got to have complete focus when you say it. Otherwise, don't bother. But it's mentioned twice in the Bible, because it's in Luke chapter 11. And that one's pretty good too. I like that one. But I prefer Matthew. And Matthew is part of the Sermon on the Mount. So, and for me personally, I have a place in the forest, I call it my chapel, where I like to go. But I never go to bed without praying on my knees. And when I wake up, it's one of the very first things I do. Well, I brush my teeth first, but and I put my tea on. But I'll always say a prayer in the morning. And it never differs. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. It's that simple. You just have to believe it with all your heart, say it with all the sincerity you can muster, concentrate on it, and believe it. And if you do, remember, we will forward in this generation triumphantly. Thank you for watching.